Good evening, and welcome to the Reel McCoy. I'm Mephisto, and here is my counterpart, Mr. Oh My Feelings, Kyle. Good evening to you, sir. How have you been?
Good. How have you been, buddy?
I'm good. I'm good. Today we have got a doozy of a movie for us to entangle and weave and pick apart. Basically, it is a 2 hour movie, and hopefully, this podcast will be just under 2 hours.
Yours again?
Just
Yes.
under 2 hours. I'm saying to you right now. I know you've had your notes, and even if you didn't have your notes, I am going to skip a bit.
Oh, that's fine.
I have
There's
I have the director's cut, which I don't
okay.
know what he added, but it's mostly like glory shots of the Nostromo and other things.
Well, the
It
good
didn't
news is
add
that
anything.
there's a lot of this that can be skipped because it's just inherent creeping dread, where you're supposed to just feel suspenseful for 3 to 5 minutes, where there's no actual dialogue. A lot of the films we've watched so far have been very dialogue or action heavy, where they especially Big Trouble in Little China, where they're throwing in little jokes there that we
Yeah,
kind of had to be like, oh yeah, did you catch that? Ah, that was funny. But
yeah. I have
yep.
one more thing. I have to apologize yet again. There is no short version for this particular movie at this time. I will add a short version to this and to the other to Fight Club that I haven't done at a later date.
Okay, that's fine.
That's why I'm not publishing any podcast right now. It's everything is still unlisted because we're technically on an alpha beta run technically.
Yeah.
But I did send out this. I did send out this link, this unlisted link, on my Discord. So if you want to link it to anybody else that wants to join in live, you can do that while I'm talking. You can do that or whatever. Everybody's feel free to do it. I've put a link, and we'll see what we get. I cannot see. Yeah, I've got the chat now. It's supposed if anybody talks in the YouTube chat, I will see it on my side of things. It won't appear on screen, of course. So it's basically Saf if and when he wants to join. It's basically
Yep.
Saf. That's the
That's
only
what
guy I talk to.
I assume so right now because everyone that I know is watching all the E3 content right now.
That's
So
okay. That's fine.
that's
Okay.
sort of a bad weekend. So
Yeah, but as long as you're here, I'm good. I
all
just
right.
want to get a lovely shot, a nice little shot to start us over with. This I want to start with this. Let's put this on screen. Let put us upstairs. Here we go. Alien,
there's
directed by yes, there he is. There he is. Alien, directed by Ridley Scott. This is our movie for tonight. This basically put Ridley Scott on the map, right? Or wrong? I think
Yes.
this is the first movie, like first major motion picture that he ever done.
First major, yes, yeah.
Yes. What is Alien all about? What is Alien all about? Alien is about a group of freight workers that are coming back to Earth, and they get a message from the company telling them that according to their contract, there's a beacon somewhere, and they have to investigate it because under the terms of their contract, if and when there's a possible alien contact, they have to investigate and come back with findings. And this is how the movie actually starts. In space, we have shots of the Nostromo from different angles. It's not. Would you say it's the first movie where you don't see like a sleek ship?
I wouldn't say so because I think Star Wars did it first.
That it's not really a sleek ship?
Yes.
Okay, and like at the start of the movie, it's already starting as like super creepy with this, that they're getting the message. So what do you say about this one? It's
Well,
basically soundless apart from the flickering of the light and the tingling of the computer.
yes, because they're still in hypersleep right now, as their mission was technically supposed to be completed and they were on their way back to Earth. So
Yeah,
Mother is the kind of corporate entity that is the AI of the ship, is waking them all up for this
yeah,
distress. They think it's a distress beacon at first.
yeah, something like that. Something like that. So yeah, they are basically getting up. Um you will excuse me if I forget which one is which. Ash is the android, Ripley
Yes.
is Sigourney Weaver. We have Lambert, who is the navigator, that's the other woman. We have the two engineers, which are played by Harry Dean Stanton and Yefet Koto.
Yeah.
Right? It's Parker and somebody else, right? And we have
Yeah,
the
I can't remember his
ship's
other name.
captain. The ship's captain is Dallas.
Dallas. Yeah.
And we have John Hurt, which I never could remember his name. Exactly. So
No,
John
his
Hurt.
name's kind of inconsequential. What happens to him is the most important thing.
Exactly. So they're getting up. Now, I've watched this and I distinctly remember there's a different shot of them getting up with Ripley getting up first. Or am I mistaken? Or they took it out? I would expect the director's cut to have the shot where Ripley gets up. Maybe they cut it because it was too sexy for 1927. Not 1979.
This is very impressive for 27.
1979. I'm sorry, 1979.
No, I think you might be thinking of one of the first scenes from Aliens.
No, I distinctly remember a big room and a circle like this one, like we see here, but with Ripley getting up first. It shouldn't be a problem. She's fully dressed. It's just, you know. So everybody gets up. Everybody's like sitting around eating and drinking and smoking, which is odd. But yeah, they're literally smoking on the ship, which is weird, but it's according with the time. So we have Yefet Koto, which is one of the engineers. We've got John Hurt, which is going to get smacked. And we have Bilbo Baggins, aka Ash, the science officer, who is not really science officer. And he is a science officer.
Actually, I think Saf is right when Ripley is fully dressed together. When they actually show Ripley for the first time, Dallas is already
that's
up.
what I'm saying. When you see it for the first, she's fully dressed. But I do distinctly remember a scene where she's getting up from a round table of people that are getting up. Maybe it's aliens, I guess. Maybe. So
what I do have to say, just for this scene real quick, I really like the fact that they've already set up the character dynamics and how there's already some kind of fostering antagonism between them, where they work together, they joke along, they get along okay, but there is still some kind of deep-seated where I don't like you, I want to get my money, I want to go home, especially on behalf of the engineers.
Yeah, so the engineers are like, we want our money, we don't want it's even before they discuss the detour. At this point, they're thinking, oh, we're close to home, because there's no other way that they're going to wake us up, either that we're close to Earth. We've got this 20 million tons of ore that we have to like get to Earth, and that's our mission. But there's another thing, another real thing that I don't know. I didn't catch it the first few times that I've watched this, but I did catch it this time because I've seen someone talk about it on another video that I think Parker is Yefet Koto, gets to the table, and Ash is sitting in his place, or he's sitting to the table, but he comes
and
to
he
the
tells him
table
to
and he said to him, move.
Yeah.
And he gets up and move because he's an android and they're mostly compliant. But I thought it was it shouldn't ring any alarm bells, because at the time, who would have thought there's an android on board? But yeah. So we move on to the next bit where Dallas, that's our ship captains. It's
Tom Skerritt. What an actor.
It's not Chris Christopherson?
No, that's Tom Skerritt.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. He looks exactly like Chris Christopherson. Never mind. Are you sure? I'm just going to check. Okay. So Dallas is talking to Mother and getting, you know, all the commands. And he's like, all right. He's fully compliant with what the company wants and needs. So he just moves on. And it's literally establishing him as the captain, or his way of thinking throughout the movie, where he's the man, he's the captain, and we were told to do this, so we're going to do this. And it comes up later when he's talking to Ripley, when they basically break the quarantine rule to get John Hurt on board. But yeah, this
is where the navigator first realizes that that they're not the correct star system.
Part. Yeah. So in this part, they're sitting down. Lambert is discovering that we're not close to Earth. And then Dallas comes in. Look, we've been detoured. We have to go and check this beacon out. And they're all this is the part where he tells them to move. I thought it was in the breakfast, but this is the part where he tells them to move. So the captain gathers everybody in. He's telling them about what they need to do, what they need to check. Both engineers kind of raise the question, wait, this is not in my contract.
Correct. Yeah.
And Dallas corrects them. Look, if there's a possible first contact, we have to go, or you forfeit your entire money for the entire trip. So that's basically shuts them up, because they're all about getting the job done, getting money, and just leaving, which is okay with me. Yeah, I wanted to show. Yeah, this, I need to show two shots. This is the Nostromo from the outside. You can see it's built like a fortress or an oil rig with the big bubbles as the containers. And it seems to me this ship will not land. It's not supposed to land. It's supposed to stay in space, I guess. And they use there's a detachable, not vehicle, but a detachable spaceship, or a detachable vehicle to get actually into the planet. But I wanted to give this shot and the next shot, which is this shot, just to give you a scale of how minuscule we are traveling through space and how big the planets are. Yeah, an orbital mothership. That's what Saf's saying. Yeah.
Yep.
This is just pure set piece. So it's giving you a set piece of, you've seen the ship up close. You see how big this is? Look at how small this is compared to everything else around it, which is awesome. And there's basically nobody's even talking, just all the landing stuff. That's it. There's no character development. There's no nothing. Just it literally puts you into this place where they land. And we have the team here trying to figure out who's going out.
And what was really funny is what happens later is really more important and it's really retrospective when you look back on the scene, because when Ash is how insistent he is that he be part of the landing crew.
Yes. I don't think he went out with the crew though.
He didn't go out, but he was with them in like the little like the rover.
Yeah,
thing
he was
to bring
in.
them to
Yeah,
the
he
ship.
had a little command center,
Mhm.
and he guided them. And he basically, it sounded like he was pushing them to go there.
Yeah,
But not really. But in retrospect, we know he was kind of just keep going. We found this. No, keep going. So we have Lambert, we have Dallas, and we have John Hurt going down. Here's Ash in the command center.
Mhm.
All right. And they are going down. Ripley stays behind, and she has this little interaction with both Parker and the other guy. So the engineers.
Yeah. Where they're like, well, they gave a little bit more information as to why. It's like, well, you know, you're contractually obligated to be here and everything, and by law we have to pay you for this. So just let's just get this done and everything. But the other engineer is messing with the pipe the whole time, blasting a giant gout of steam to make sure that she can't be heard, just to fuck with her.
Yes, and as soon as she leaves, he's like,
he turns it off.
He turns it off. That was a great moment. That was a great moment. I don't even think it's now. I think it comes a bit later. But yeah, it's during it's
right
during
around
the
here.
mission.
Yeah,
it's during the mission. So they go into this ship, and it's a totally alien ship, and they discover
which
this.
What begs the question too is they must have had some kind of humanity must have had a contact with some kind of other sentient alien beings at this point in time, because if this was their actual first contact with a sentient alien being, because obviously that's not a human that's piloting the ship.
Yes, I can't really pinpoint the exact, like I said in every other podcast, it's so hard to pinpoint the exact shot. Yeah. I can fiddle around with it, but it's basically a non-humanoid with like a big tentacle, one tentacle coming up from his nose, I would say, sitting around at something that looks like a chair with a wheel coming not from the bottom, but from the top of the ship down. So it's either a viewer or some sort of a navigational device. We don't know. It's not explained, and we actually don't need to know. We don't need to know. You just don't need to know. And all three of the landing party coming in, and Dallas comes in to check this out, and he puts his hand in there, and he says, well, this looks like something exploded from the inside out.
Yeah.
Now, if you've seen this movie more than once, you know exactly what came out of this thing, but they don't know at this point. And if you see this for the first time and you don't know what to expect, and maybe you've heard about the alien, maybe you've heard about what's going on, and it's a shame. If you know a little bit about Alien or Aliens or whatever, Alien versus Predator, you know what happened here. But if you've seen this for the first time, it's like, okay, so maybe somebody shot this guy, or we don't know. We don't know. He's the only alien that they could discern in this entire ship.
Yeah, I think it's the same. It has the same kind of interesting sort of like one take shots that the Thing really has, where the Thing is so prevalent, where that you're obviously aware of the fact that it's a shapeshifter when you go and watch the movie now, because it's been mocked by pulp culture so many times. Same with the xenomorph.
Yeah.
So that, but I can imagine the audience going into the film in 1979 seeing this for the first time, how shocking all of these scenes would have actually been, especially with how they used all the imagery from H.R. Geiger's Necronomicon to both make that's the navigator, that's what they call the pilot here, and the actual xenomorph later.
Yeah. You see the device coming from the top down, which is supposedly supposed to be more alien-like because we wouldn't have used this type of configuration. And he's looking like he's sitting down, as you can say. There's got this trunk and all that stuff, but it's not. It's distinctly not human. Distinctly not human. That's what I wanted to show.
Yep.
So we have Dallas and Lambert and John Hurt reached a certain point where there's a drop in the ship going down. So they do some sort of an ascension. John Hurt is the one that's going down. Lambert and Dallas stay up, and he goes down to the ship, and he says that there's a distinct change of temperature and moisture, even
Much
though
colder.
he is in a encapsulated suit that is supposed to protect him. That is, a little bit here and there, So it goes down to this.
Was that Ash also mentions that too? That the thermal readings were changing in their suits. That it was becoming increasingly colder.
But also they said that he can't really communicate with them.
Yeah.
But he relies on just the readings that he has, but also he can hear a little bit of the radio communication, but he's not at this point, he's not intervening as much.
Yeah.
Sort of, if we look at it with a critical eye, you could say, oh, at this point he knew that they found what they came for, and he's just letting things happen.
Yeah, let it unfold.
Because they know stuff is going to happen, because whatever. And that's not information that you get from this particular movie. You get it from basically Aliens, and later on in Alien 3. And of course later on it's the lore got developed more and more, what the company is looking for in this
place. Finding how again, it just as in now, the corporations are still evil in the future, except for now they will actively kill you.
Right. So John Hurt comes to this point, and I thought this room was more lit. I don't like to use that word, but I thought when I remembered seeing this.
No, a rave is not going on in there, and drugs aren't being passed. Like,
exactly.
It's not lit. Exactly. It's not a party.
Exactly. What I was saying, what I'm getting at is, I thought this room had a little bit more light, and you can see better. But even I also have the 4K version of this movie. This is basically what you see at 4K.
Yeah,
it's very dark. The camera moves a lot. I stopped it at this point, but the camera moves a lot, so you can see the eggs because they're there. But if you watch this for the first time, you don't know what you're looking at until the point where John Hurt is face to face with the egg, and you can see the egg itself. Now, over the years, the shape of the egg has been more refined. In this point in this movie, the egg is not a perfect egg. It's very the edges are very, very dark, and you can, on the bottom, you can see the face hugger still. You can basically discern the face hugger at this point.
What I did find funny in that scene though too is, though them encountering this, they have certain protocols in place, like the quarantine protocol for getting infected by some kind of alien substance that they cannot contain, or any kind of contagion. Why would he have actively walked up and put his face over something that just opened? It still bothers me. It's like, you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah, I know. This is the point where I don't think you see it in any other Alien movie, where you can actually see that this part of the egg is basically translucent, although it is not transparent. It's a little bit muddy, I would call it, but you can see into the egg, and you see it pumping at this point. And of course, switch over to here where I want to see. Yeah. This part. There we go. Boom. It literally, John Hurt puts his face into this thing, and then it opens. And what happens is the camera becomes John Hurt's eyes, and he literally goes into the egg. He see it pump, but again, we know, yeah, it's pulsating. We know it's a bad thing. He doesn't know it, and he gets like face hugged through the mask. I remember, I like forgot this part. I thought he lifted his visor.
No.
What I remembered is because the conditions inside the cave were good enough to breathe, he lifted his visor.
That happened in Prometheus.
Yes.
That was the idiot in Prometheus that did that.
I know, exactly. So what happens is he puts his face in, face hugger comes in, slaps into his visor and eats through the visor to get into John Hurt's face. Oh, that is that. So we have a medical emergency. Let me see. Yeah, I want to get to a specific shot. So bear with me. There we go. There we go. So we have a medical emergency. We can see Lambert and Dallas like drag John Hurt into like the lock. Come on, the airlock. They're inside the airlock. They've closed the outer door and they want to get into the ship, right? So Ripley says, look, company policy, if there's some sort of a biological hazard, we have to quarantine. You cannot be on board this ship. We have a quarantine for that particular thing. And Dallas keeps to, again, with the company or with his him being a captain. Look, it's my man. I have to save him. I don't care about the quarantine. Please, I want to get this guy out. And Ripley says, look, there's a quarantine rule for a reason.
Yep.
You can get all of us infected.
But guess who is the person that opens the door?
Yes, the science officer. The science officer, of course. Yep. And Ripley says after he opens the door, she does say, "Look, you are not doing this for the right reasons. You are not doing this for the right reasons." Now, I like this part. Yeah, here we go. And we will do like a sort of a break here. So we have an operation. They do a couple of tests and a scan. And after the scan, they try to take a sample and they cut away one of the legs.
Yeah.
And it drips. And they can see it literally eats through the metal. And they start running through deck after deck after deck because they think that is going to cause a hull breach.
Because Dallas is the one who it's going to cause a hull breach. It's going to cause a hull breach. So he's trying to contain this somehow.
And everybody's running. It's not only those two guys who are doing the operation, which is like basically Dallas and Ash. Everybody, Parker and all the engineers are literally rushing around the deck after deck after deck until it actually stops. And we stop as well. We stop for a commercial break. No, just kidding. We stop for our first segment of the night. We stop for our first segment of the night. Of course, every single week we do that. Well, every single week that we do this podcast, I do this. I bring you and the audience. Now that we have an audience, This part is actually my favorite part of the week, where I show you and the audience a movie poster, and all the text has been blotched away, and we have a movie, and you need to guess which movie is this. Let's go. That's the first movie, by the way.
I'm drawing a blank. That's Robert Redford.
It's Robert Redford, and it's Dustin Hoffman. Chat. We have chat. We have two people in the chat. We have Armory, and we've got Saf. How do you...
Graduate?
Armory says he's not 57 years old, so he doesn't know what it is. It is not The Graduate.
I haven't the slightest.
All the President's Men.
Man.
It is about the Watergate scandal. It is
I've never seen that.
And it is Bernstein and Woodward, sort of a half biopic. It is very, very good, by the way.
Is that Gunkata?
No. You meant like Gattaca.
Gattaca. No, Gunkata. That looks like Christian Bale.
That is Christian Bale.
No, it's Gunkata is what they use in the movie. What the hell is the name of that movie?
I'll give you a clue. The other guy is Ty Diggs.
Ty Diggs.
I picked a good one. This
Equilibrium?
It is Equilibrium. Yes, sir.
There we go.
Next.
Is that Once Upon a Time in Los Angeles?
No.
Or LA Confidential?
LA Confidential.
Oh, that's Logan.
Logan.
Great movie. Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Yes, sir.
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia.
Singing in the Rain.
Singing in the Rain.
Snatch.
Snatch 'em a boyo.
Big Lebowski.
Nice.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Gotcha.
Is that Raisin in the Sun?
No.
The Color Purple?
The Color Purple.
Dog Day Afternoon.
No.
Taxi Driver.
No.
No. Raging Bull.
No.
I'm now just naming all De Niro's hits now.
Saf tapped out.
It's just like I'm drawing a blank on this one. I should know this.
The Deer Hunter.
Deer Hunter. Damn it, I should know that. Green Mile.
Green Mile.
We just talked about this one.
This one.
In Pursuit of Happiness.
Yes, sir.
Or The Pursuit of Happiness. One of those.
The Pursuit of Happiness, yes.
Oh God.
I found
is that The Hustler?
No, that is not The Hustler. Good guess, though.
It's about pool sharks, but
it's not about pool sharks.
Oh, never mind. I'm getting that wrong.
All right. So in the white we have Paul Newman.
Newman, yeah.
On the left we have Robert Redford.
It's not Butch Cassidy, a Sundance Kid.
No, it is. I think one after that they did together.
Yeah. I don't know.
The Sting.
The Sting. That's a deep cut, though.
Yes.
Regulators.
No. The Sting has a very distinct soundtrack. It has the do 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 do.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the Sting. Okay, which one is this one?
Untouchables.
You got it from the chat. Saf was right.
That God, Toy Story 3?
Yes, Toy Story 3. You know what gives it away? By the way, all the Toy Story 3s have a big 3 on them without Toy Story. By the way, this one is almost the only poster that I found that has no 3 in it. The Big Bear.
Oh,
Big Bear.
Yeah. Tropic Thunder. It's a great movie. A V for Vendetta.
Correct, sir.
I
love this poster.
The Watchmen.
I love this poster. The Watchmen.
Henry Dean Morgan was great in that. Beautiful Mind.
Yes. A Beautiful Mind. And I think that is the last one.
You got some harder ones this week.
Yeah, I told you I found a treasure trove of textless posters. Do you know how many posters they've done for Avengers? It is unreal.
Oh yeah.
For Infinity War and Endgame, amazing posters. Like for just to hang, they hang posters in bus stops, right?
Oh,
I don't know if you've seen it or not. There's like massive posters that they hang in bus stops. Mostly no text, just the characters. You instantly recognize them. It mostly works only for blockbusters like Avengers or any of the Marvel movies or DC movies. It works so well with big blockbusters that you actually know the characters.
There's one that it's the French version of the poster for, I believe I've told you this before, but I love this because it was just so like apropos for the movie, but out of context, it made no sense. It was just images of just basically 2 teddy bears in different sexual positions, just scaled back.
It was for Ted?
No, it was for the Rules of Attraction. And in context of the film, it made sense. But outside of the context, it was at a Paris Metro stop. It's not like 2006. It's a long, long time ago, but it's stuck in my mind. But I was like, what the hell is that? And then I read like, oh, that makes sense. But for anyone else just looking at it, like, what the fuck? It's just it's a thing of teddy bears fucking. What is going on?
You know what? That actually is a great way to promote your movie. It creates a buzz. It gets people talking. Did you see this in the Metro? Did you see that? I love that. Do you know they did almost the same thing with Batman 1989? I remember distinctly. We had do you know where, I don't know how it is in the US, but for us, in some street corners in main cities where you have like Main Street, First Street, and on that like pillar you had like a square billboard. All right, so it's with light and everything.
Okay.
It was very common back in the day. Now they've all taken down, but it was very common here. And you see, like when Batman came out, loads of those things were bought and paid for, and it was black with the Batman symbol. Didn't say Batman. Didn't say Joker. Didn't say coming soon. It was just basically the bat signal, but it was the front like yellow and black.
It was like the bronzed one that they had.
No, not the bronzed one. No, not the stylized one. It was the matte finished yellow on black. That's
really
it.
Okay.
For a month.
Okay, because I think they had.
Everybody was like, why? What? Nobody. No buzz. No nothing. Just the bat signal. That's it.
Yeah.
And when it came out, people went crazy over here.
Mhm.
People went crazy. It was jam-packed. All right, so back to the movie. Right after the scene, right after the sort of like the acid scene, we see a very telling. We have a scene with Ash, and I think Ripley joins him at this point. Let me just move forward ahead.
Yeah, so basically he's doing testing on what this thing
He's talking.
is.
Ripley's talking to him, right, about the quarantine and what to expect and what happens and all that stuff. But Ash is basically looking at the monitor, trying to figure out what is happening with John Hurt. Let me just.
Oh, he's actually trying to figure out what this thing is, because he's examining the fact that it's silicon based. It's hardening as its carapace is starting to fall apart, and he's really like, he even mentioned something that he's like, oh, this is like a perfect being, because it's like he said it's one pesky thing to kill.
Yes.
At one point.
Yeah. He sort of admires it. He's not afraid of it. And at this point, you would expect a science officer or a scientist to be both healthy, like curiously healthy, or healthily curious, but also very worried about this thing, right? I would say if you're a scientist and you have this thing on a person and you can't detach it, we're dealing with a crisis here. We're dealing with a full-blown crisis. Please stop sending me messages, dude. Thank you. Bye-bye. All right. And we have a sort of a discussion, like I said, with Ripley and Ash. Was like, you literally broke quarantine, and he's trying to. He turns off the screen. If you can see, he turns off it. He turns it off, so she won't see it. And that's like odd. Why does he care if she watches it or doesn't watch it? It's like sort of common knowledge, but he turns it off because he knows things are brewing. Anything to add?
No, that's basically the scene. The two of them together too, like you can tell how Ripley is very perturbed by this, and everyone else is obviously concerned for John Hurt's character's health. Yeah. But she's more upset by the fact that this is going to cause. She can actually see the bigger picture in this, and it should have been the captain who's the one who's seeing the bigger picture.
Exactly. So it's sort of a role reversal where you would expect the captain to be a little more open to actually like trying to keep this contained instead of what he's doing, but he's not. All he wants to do is just complete the mission because company said so, and that's it. And Ripley's like the more mature of the two. So they're sitting around, and there's a development. Something happened. No face hugger anymore, but we have John Hurt just laying about in a coma or coma state. And they're coming into this room, and we have our first jump scare. There. We have our first jump scare right here, where Ripley's looking below the bed and literally falls on her.
Yeah,
it literally falls off the ceiling, and she like scream queens it, right? And they pick it up for an examination. At this point, we're like we said, there is a massive discussion between Ripley and Dallas, where Dallas is telling you, look, we don't care. Like John Hurt is fine. Everything's fine. Everything's dandy. We're back to normal. He's going to wake up soon, and he's going to tell us what's up and what happened. And Ripley's like, aren't you like the least bit afraid that something is off here?
Mhm.
He's like, no, why should I? It's like, we're told to investigate. We investigated. We have a specimen. We're going home. And that's that. And it's
Yeah.
he's sort of obtuse, I would say.
And it was one thing too. I think it was a little bit when they got back on the ship. Was that when Lambert mentioned the fact that they determined the fact that the signal that was coming out was not an SOS? It was a warning to
Yes.
stay away.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think it's that sort of point. And then Ripley kind of brings it up to the captain, and he seems to not care so much. He's like, I want to keep my men, which is a very healthy thing for a captain, but he's very recluse with everything that he's doing to literally keep them in harm or in harm's way.
Mhm.
So they leave. They go back to the Nostromo. They had to also fix the ship, basically. They landed kind of off.
That's
So
because when Parker and the other engineer, when they get back and they start the engine up and they go, "That's right, we fix things once and they work."
Yeah, I love that. The interaction between like Harry Dean Stanton and Yaphet Kotto as the sort of, they act at this point, at least in the movie, they're sort of like the comic relief.
Yeah.
When you watch this movie, you identify with the engineers more as a like sort of a working class man. You would identify more with the goofy, like the goofballs who they do what they have to do. The ship is fixed, everything's working, they do their job, but they goof around, and they don't really care about the mission and all that stuff. They really don't.
Yeah.
All they care about,
They just want to go
the
home.
money.
They have to get their money and they go home. That's all they want.
So
John Hurt wakes up.
It's like, what happened? Don't really remember. Doesn't really remember the room that he was in. Or he doesn't say a lot. He's like, how are you feeling? I'm good. Nothing. We don't get a lot of information from him, right?
No.
Or
right.
or did it skip by me?
Yeah.
And
No, he doesn't act off or anything.
Yeah, it's like he's awake, like he was asleep for a very long time. I don't think Ash asks him anything like intrusive, right?
No.
He doesn't do like a checklist or anything. And it seems weird, and everything seems to go back to normal. Like they sit around, they eat,
which should have raised so many red flags for everyone involved, that this person had a foreign being latched onto its face and he just woke up. There is no telling what the hell he has now.
Yeah, exactly. They don't seem to run any tests on him. They don't quarantine him for any reason. They're back on their main mess hall, sitting around, shooting the shit, same as they did in the first when they got up from their slumber, shooting the shit, eating their breakfast or their dinner or whatever it is. And it's that at the start of the scene, this scene is sort of like this escalated quickly scene where they start off slow and he keeps shoveling more food and shoveling a little bit more food, and it's not like big bunches, so everybody's realizing he eats way too much. It's like a little bit more food and a little bit more food, and I love to eat this and I love to eat that, I love to eat this, and suddenly bam, it goes straight into seventh gear.
Yeah, John Hurt starts grasping at his stomach and then shaking and then having a violent seizure, and all of the engineers around him, Parker was the one of those who goes, "The food's not that bad." Again, joking, I was trying to play it off like, "Are you okay?" And then,
and we have in a split second, we have it. Literally, it doesn't actually start. It doesn't burst out like in the other movies. First, it explodes blood everywhere, all you can see is like a spot, and then it literally pops out. Yeah. So we have a xenomorph baby.
I love how they did the effect too, because everything that they did in the movie is all practical effects, because there obviously was no CGI then. That's what makes it so great. But also, when you look back on it, some of it's a little bit like, yeah, you can see where the seams are. There's a scene later that I'll point out. You can definitely tell when things were cut. But that puppet, the way that it was done, they actually lined in basically a fake cadaver's like stomach around where John Hurt's character was, and they lined up sheep intestine, and they basically just pumped air to push it up, and that's how they got the effect.
Nice.
To have it pop up. Yeah, really cool.
I know I could see where they cut away because they had to. I could see throughout from this point on. There's a lot of like this angle and that angle and this angle. So a lot of angles and a lot of cuts where you need to cut it, but it's sort of weird. But in retrospect, you could see it. They've done it because first to get more creepiness out of the scene. And the other thing is basically so you won't see what they're doing. So it's either a puppet or the guy in the suit. Let me just switch on over. So it gets out of the belly and it runs away, and we have loads of these shots. A lot of shots that are panning through the ship. Everything is empty. It gives you the scale of the inside of the ship and how like a very small group of people have to find this little thing. They don't know it's going to grow, but this little thing running around the ship.
And also, it also sets up for the inherent creeping dread and how claustrophobic this environment is. Because while it is vast. I mean, it's a vast ship, but look how tight the corridors are. There's nowhere to really run.
Yeah, maybe I can show you another point. This point. I'll jump in and then I'll jump back. Want to see? So hard to get it. I had it for a second. There we go. So these are somewhere down in engineering or somewhere. It's a long corridor, but it's very tight. Very tight. You can see how tight it is by the fact that they're lowering their head a little bit, right? So it gives it like a very tight box type feel. So that's super, super creepy. We're jumping back. So what they're doing now is we have 6 people. We had 7. We have 6 people now, right? They're dividing groups. So the captain, Lambert, and Ash go together. The 2 engineers and Ripley go together. And they're trying to find this thing, right? Later on, I think it's around 10 or 15 minutes of movie where there's very little dialogue.
Yes.
There is loads of shots of people looking for things. It's very dark. It's very, very dark. It's like a contrast between where they sat and where the slumber chambers are, which is everything is white, everything is bright, to the bowels of the ship where everything is dark, dingy, wet, super dark.
Well, and of course, you wouldn't need to power this up because the operation's over. I would assume when the operation was active, all of this would be well lit and functional, but you're conserving power for the return.
Yeah. There is a reason. I'm not saying not saying there isn't, but it also contributes to the horror factor, the creepiness, the vibe, that you want in a tight a tight space in space that you can't run away from.
Yep, that's really the atmosphere of it. And Ridley Scott actually said about it. He said originally when they were filming a lot of the different scenes and they were using a lot of different animatronics and stuff. I don't know if you've ever seen the original. There's a snippet of it where they actually had the Xenosuit costume on a dog, and they were trying to use that to manipulate it, but it looked obviously way too fake and everything. And he realized that what he could do is instead go for atmospheric horror instead of just big, like I'm fighting a big monster kind of horror. And I think he really said it best when he said, it's not in the film what really builds the horror. It's not what you see, it's what you think you see and what you could see.
Yeah, and I really love this about this movie. And I said it today to my wife, because she didn't see this with me. I saw it by myself twice this week. And I still forgot the names, which is odd. So what I told her is I love this movie. I used to love Aliens better than this movie, but they're totally different genres. They're totally different genres. Yeah. Aliens is more of an action thriller, I would say. Yeah. And this one is a straight up horror because it's not really a thriller. It's designed to have jump scares, but there's very few jump scares in this.
I would say more than anything, it's a horror film for sure, but really it's more of a suspense film, really.
Yes,
that's all it
suspense. Is. That's the word I was looking for. Suspense.
You're waiting for something to happen. You know something is going to happen. You just don't know when. And that's where it's keeping you on the edge of your seat.
Which literally leads me to this scene. That's where I'm coming from. Harry Dean Stanton is looking for his.
All I'm saying is
he's looking for his cat.
This fucking cat, just like every other cat. Oh, we're gonna bring it up in a minute. I still hate this cat.
Respect Jonesy. Respect.
Jonesy is a piece of shit.
Jonesy is a piece of shit. Respect Jonesy's. Respect Jonesy, man. He is the master of thrills.
There is.
It's
gonna. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say because it's coming up. Obviously, we all know that everyone's basically gonna end up dead in this. That everybody knows this, and everybody viewing the podcast, everybody knows this.
Yeah.
But as he is being killed, there's a cut to Jonesy's face, and it looks like utter contempt. Where it's just like, I do not give a fuck that you are dying right now. Could not care less. And like, that's a cat. That is a cat.
That is a cat. So Harry Dean Stanton is looking for his cat. And at one point we were expecting a jump scare with the monster, but we get a jump scare with the cat, which is nowadays obvious. Of course, that's what's going to happen because you have to build the suspense. So you get a mini jump scare and then monster, right?
Yeah.
But this is like, it's not
because he finds the
John Carpenter did about the same. Also in I think it did the Friday the 13th. The first one came out 77 or 76, and Halloween came out 70.
I think 78.
78. So there were horror slasher films before this.
Yeah.
This is not really a slasher film. You did see blood, but that's where the Xenomorph came out. You don't actually see too much blood when each individual gets killed. I think so. I really want to get to that point. So Harry Dean Stanton is literally standing in a spot and he's like dripping water on top of him, but that's where he made a mistake because this is what's dripping on him. And
you hear that
shit, you don't see him. You don't see it.
You hear that
he's standing
too that they make for the first time
right here. He's standing right here and something is dripping on him, but it's sort of it's cold water. Oh, that's so nice. And suddenly It's this.
Yep.
It's this. He doesn't even see it. He doesn't even see it. He opens his eyes and bam, he's dead. He's like dead.
It was the first time this is the first scene they set up the secondary mouth inside.
Yes.
Yes. Like little proboscis that pops out.
No, it's. I don't think it's the. I'll get to it.
Okay, I believe he uses it twice in the film.
Oh yeah, he does have the secondary mouth.
Yeah,
you do see the secondary mouth. Yes,
and there was also that's the first time you hear the noise that they actually make. That like slight ticking noise, which is different than the Predator's ticking noise, but
yeah, but we don't talk about Predator versus Alien here because that's an abomination.
Nope. What about AVP 2, the best film ever made?
All right, moving on. So you want a Jonesy? Let me give you Jonesy. It's so hard to get
fucking cat
pinpoint.
This is what not be asked. Does not give a single fuck. Like, whatever. If he dies, he dies.
Yeah, I know. The whole point of having the cat looking at the murder, but you don't actually see the murder. You don't see the murder. You hear a scream. You hear. You can see Jonesy looking at something. Doesn't give a fuck. Yeah. That's why Jonesy is the man. Yeah, but Jonesy's a cat, and cats are cats, and we'll leave it be. So we're at a state of emergency here. We have our first death, our second death actually, but our first death from a xenomorph, and the crew is scrambling, and Ash is still very calm, which is beginning to be very, very weird at this point. Now we don't actually know that he's an android yet. And I think in the corridor where Ripley and Dallas are talking, she asked him about Ash, and he said he had a science officer for 5 missions.
Yeah.
And just before they went out on this mission, it was replaced by Ash.
Yeah.
And that's basically our first flag. I mean, it's like 4 or 5 scenes before that, but it's like our first red flag, our second red flag, and then this is in this scene where Ash is completely calm. Completely calm. There's no panic. Everyone is in panic right now. Like Lambert has completely lost her shit. Lambert is beginning to be super hysterical. She can't starts to be very dysfunctional at this point, and she's the next death is going to set her over the edge.
Yeah. What I do like too in this scene too, there is that juxtaposition between Ripley and Lambert, where Lambert is the prototypical screaming hysterical woman.
Yes.
And Ripley is the strong, confident, competent leader that should have been the one leading this mission in the first place. So there's that clear dichotomy between those two characters there.
And this is how I personally love how they write strong women. I personally love that they write strong women without it being overtly like, I'm the boss here. It's like, it's written not because she's a woman, but she is a person that sees the situation correctly.
Yes.
Supposed to act correctly, maturely, and overall at the end being vindicated because the selection of decisions that were supposed to be made, if they were made by that particular person, we wouldn't have had this situation.
Well, so I think that's really the
more pinning it, like I'm getting to a point, and pinning it on a woman or on a man doesn't actually matter, but the fact that they went with a woman protagonist that is the mature one, that is the one that makes the great decision without it being women power, is something that I would really appreciate to see in new movies today.
Yep,
That is my personal perspective.
Yep. No, that's just what I was just going to make that point. They don't have to make it so that her coworkers were outrageously sexist or trying to belittle or demean her opinions or decisions at all. Yeah, Ash, you find out the reason why he did those things later to break the quarantine, but she was trying to do all the right things. And it wasn't because they're like, no, you're a dumb woman. We know better than you, so we're going to go and break it. No, it was done for nefarious reasons.
Yeah. Now, I want to get to a specific... It's very... Oh, there.
Armor, you're very right. They didn't... They were still politicized, but nowhere near where they are now.
It's... Again, it's not overt. It's not in your face. Mm-hmm. I'm going to touch about it at the end, but Ripley is a hero not because she's a woman, but because she made the right calls every single time. The fact that she was not in charge, that is because the hierarchy of how the crew was built.
Yep.
She was basically a third in command pilot. Mm-hmm. She was the pilot, right? One of the pilots. Along with John Hurt. And we have the captain. So the captain, John Hurt, I think he was second in command. And third in command is Ripley. And Lambert is like fourth, I guess, because she's the navigator. So Dallas goes into Mother, which is the AI, the ship's computer. And he is looking for answers. Because Dallas is a square. Mm-hmm. Dallas is a square. He doesn't think outside the box. He doesn't know how to move forward, and he's looking for advice. He's looking for a parent to tell him what to do. So he goes into Mother, and he's saying, well, we want to terminate the alien, so it's unable to compute. Unavailable data is sufficient. He is typing several different questions in order to get an answer, and all that he's getting is unable to compute. Available data is insufficient because either the computer doesn't have any answers because it's not programmed to answer any alien questions, or it is built that way because the company is compartmentalizing everything. By the way, look at the date. It's 2037. I'm guessing we won't be in space in 2037.
Yes. Well, what's funny too is that I think it's actually the way it's the user it's Dallas that's getting these answers from it, because later when a scene with Ash that comes up, it actually will say bring back specimen crew expendable. So it's clear that what Dallas is receiving and what
Ash it's not Ash, it's Ripley. It's Ripley that receives that message.
Oh, I thought it was Ash. Okay.
Yeah. It's Ripley that receives this message. So the crew is stuck. So they're saying, well, let's kill it. Basically, let's go find it and kill it. Whatever this thing is, we still don't know what it is. All we know is that it killed Harry Dean Stanton. So what do? We burn it. Seems all right, because we don't want to stab it because it will basically blow out the ship with a hull breach. Yeah. So we'll burn it. That's what they come up with. I don't remember who came up with it. I think it's the other engineer that says so. I don't remember. So Dallas goes in. Oh, he's equipped with a some sort of a locator, not locator device, like a.
It's like some kind of sonar that is
tracker. Yeah, some sort of a tracker, whatever. And
it's become a staple of the series too.
Exactly. It comes up later on in Aliens.
And again, again, that claustrophobic creeping dread, how he has to go
Exactly. So he
into like
goes
the
into
bowels of the bowels, where he is now
yeah,
hunched down in air ducts trying to find this thing, because they realize that's what it's using to transport itself all throughout the ship. So
yeah.
yeah.
And look at this. Look at this shot where first it's horizontal, now it's vertical. So you see two different shots, but it's still very, very tight. Everything is super tight and very, very scary. And it's supposed to be, because it's a scary movie. So he is stuck, and all the crew is like clamped in together, and they can see a dot traveling towards him. I think I'm not sure. Not in this one. No, maybe it's in. No, they can see the dot.
Yeah.
This. There we go. It's very rudimentary. Later on, it gets a little bit better. Not in. I mean, in Aliens. Never mind. So they see this dot. It starts to travel, and then it starts to travel real fast. And they tell him, "Look, it's coming from your left." But in the shot, when you see Dallas, he's like looking left. There's nothing there. He's looking right. There's nothing there. Mrs. Meth? Check on the girl before you go to bed. No problem. Check on the girl before you go to bed. Okay.
All right.
So it's moving, and Dallas looking left, nothing. Looking right, there's nothing. And suddenly, he touches something on the floor. He lifts it up, and it's like the translucent ooze. So we know I'm going to show it to you. Just a screenshot. And off back we go. And there's a sense of urgency. The music kind of
the score builds,
pushes you. The score kind of pushes you into it. And we get a massively I saw it earlier. God damn it. Come on. Give it to me now. There. Got it. Bam. Different angle. You can see arms now. Mm-hmm. It lunges to Dallas, and we don't see Dallas no more.
Yep.
No blood, no acid anywhere, no nothing. They literally go to check up on him. All they see is his flaming gun. Nothing more.
Yep.
That's it. Dallas is done. Dallas is dead. And Lambert is freaking the fuck out. She is rendered inert at this point. Totally inert.
Her change in character from how she was wisecracking from the get-go to her now hysterical state reminds me of have you ever seen
that's a shot.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the original Dawn of the Dead?
A long time ago, I think.
Barbara in Dawn of the Dead has that same exact thing. Because in the beginning, she's joking around with her brother. She's the one who first encounters a zombie. It bites her brother. She freaks out. She runs and she finds the cottage with the African American, really like the real protagonist of the film. And she just utterly loses her shit. And she's hysterical for the rest of the movie. She's nigh on useless for most of it.
I'm gonna. I want to get it, but hold. I can only do that by playing it. So, just a minute. Oh no! That's so Ripley is now in command of the ship. So she says, "Well, I have access to Mother, so maybe we'll get answers this way because." Apparently, Dallas didn't tell them what's going on. So she goes in. The movie's running in the background. Just want to get to a specific point. So she gets authorization, and she tries to get answers. She doesn't get any answers. So she is trying to get to the original directive. Okay. So I'm just going to show you. We have Special Order 937.
Yeah.
Science officer eyes only. So that's only Ash. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to switch back because I don't want to get copyright strike. And she like, what's 937? She wants, so she does some sort of a override to get to get to know what is 937. And by the way, she is already stressed out. She's already stressed out because she knows something is off. The thing is, either Dallas knew and didn't say anything, or he saw this is an order to the science officer. Science officer is going to take care of it. Square. I leave. I don't get what I need, and that's what you see. That you can't compute, or there's not enough sufficient data, and that's it, right? But Ripley is inquisitive. Ripley wants to know what's going on, right? So she get this message. Hold on. There we go. Priority 1, ensure the return of the organism. So the company knew that they would find some sort of organism there for analysis. All other consideration is secondary. Crew is expendable. So that kind of tells us the company that sent them there knew that there's an organism there, knew that it was dangerous, knew that the crew can and probably will be dead. All they want is to have this thing coming to Earth for analysis, even though in hindsight, we know that would have killed the fucking planet. Basically.
Weyland-Yutani, and you thought EA was bad.
But yeah, and we get a like massively creepy part where
the confrontation between Ash and Ripley. Yeah,
she's leaning back after she read this, and Ash is like, "Hello."
Yep.
He's not supposed to have access there.
You weren't supposed to be reading that.
Yeah.
And this is when he goes full crazy, and you can tell that he's not actually a human as he starts literally juddering and spasming as he starts attacking Ripley, because Ripley now knows that hey, this is actually completely fucked and everyone's gonna die.
Yeah. So it's basically what you read is, we've all been handed in a death sentence here. So
does he try to kill her with like a rolled up magazine that he's trying to shove down her throat? That's what it looked like.
Oh, I love this part.
Oh, that's the other thing too, where when he got
literally
hit,
sweating bullets, but it's he's not sweating actual sweat. He's sweating the like milky material that is the insides. I love it where in contrast to this point, we have the scene in Aliens where Bishop is doing the knife thing, and when it's done, he got a little nick on one of his thumbs, so he goes like this and he squeezes out this milky substance, and Ripley looks at it and was like, "Oh shit, a synthetic!"
Yeah,
and she goes full on PTSD. And she goes PTSD because of this scene.
Yes.
Because of this scene, right? So, let me.
What was it that he actually tried to kill her with? Because it looked like it was like a rolled up text or rolled up magazine. Maybe it was a flight manual or something.
He basically pushes her around a few times, but he's just pushing her and then standing there looking at her, right? It's a rolled up old magazine.
That's what I thought it was. Oh, you might want to move that. There's nudity there.
That's fine. It's fine. You know what? We'll do this. It's fine. Hey, it's natural.
Just wanted to give you a heads up.
It's fine. We won't get demonetized. We're not even monetized.
So,
but yeah, this scene is pretty ridiculous because he tries to kill her with a fucking magazine.
Yeah.
With a fucking magazine. Right?
Yep.
That is so odd. That is such a weird choice.
I had completely forgotten about that until I watched it again this morning. And I'm like, what? Of all the things, especially when the other engineer comes in and saves her.
Yeah.
He grabbed, like, was it, I think it was some kind of like fire extinguisher or some kind of apparatus. But clearly it was metal because he breaks his head off.
Yeah, he breaks his fucking head off with, I think it was like an O2 canister?
Something like that. But why didn't he grab that instead of a rolled up magazine? Obviously, at this point in time, their synthetic androids weren't up to snuff yet.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, he is powerful, more powerful than a locomotive. No, just kidding. But yeah, he literally takes this big swing on his head.
Yeah, that's when they all
knock him out.
Yeah, but that's when they all go, "Oh God, he's a robot." Really?
Really? Really? But yeah, he is completely and utterly destroyed. I love the fact that the insides are like tubes and there's little balls, right?
Yeah,
it's so weird. You would expect an exoskeleton, right?
Yeah, it's funny because they have almost a one of those classic horror things where, like, are you sure he's dead? Because when they knock his head off and he falls back first, he gets up and attacks the other engineer again, even though his head's completely gone.
Yeah,
and exactly. He's going, "Get this fucking thing off me!"
Yeah, look at this. It's like balls and whatever it is. I just don't get the practicality of this thing. Is it supposed to be organs?
If that's supposed to be some kind of, like, if they actually, in the practical effect, if they used organs there, because that's what it looks like. But you would think, why would that be in there? That makes.
I mean, I don't know what you see, but I see anal beads, and that kind of freaks me out.
I mean, if the first thing, if you see a couple of balls as anal beads pops into your mind first, Meth, that is on you.
Yeah, because that's kind of weird what we have right here. I mean, it's supposed to be in the neck area. I
think, is that supposed to be his spine? That's supposed to be like holding his head upright?
I have no idea. I don't know. An upper urinary tract? I have no idea. So at this point, Ripley is just looking for answers. So literally
this is the scene that
she reattaches his head to get answers, and basically tells her, well, we knew this was happening, and we know there was an organism there, and we needed to bring it back. It doesn't say too much, and to be fair, at this point, don't care.
Yeah. I wanted to say this was the practical effect that I was referring to. Yeah. Is now you can really tell where there's the cutoff where they literally, where you can see the kind of where the underlining of that neck was, where it's supposed to be, where there's that little like plate right there where the actor's head is actually popping through.
Yeah.
Before, where there's the prosthetic there, does not look like him to begin with.
No,
it doesn't look like him. And it's also jittering until, like, they actually kept the shot in where she adjusts it to keep it flat. So when they do the next cut where his head is through the table, it doesn't look too far off for, again, 1979. Yeah. But watching it in retrospect, you can clearly tell, like, okay, that's clearly not an effect that they would use today.
You see this gizmo right here. All right. Put your eyes a little bit more to the right. Can you see this?
Yeah.
This is where the flap
Yep.
went down, and there's a big hole. That's where he pops his head. And then they put in this little rubber thing, like where this is right here. You can see here that it's not attached to his neck. Is actually keeping everything here, right?
Mhm.
But you have to suspend your disbelief. You have to. I mean, I'm gonna move to the shot where it's basically switching from his live head to a dummy. Give me a sec.
Oh, when they incinerate it?
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I did want to bring up about that scene there real quick is while you're finding that is I love the fact that they set up well, it's not really set up, but they call back to it in Prometheus and in Covenant, even though I'm not a big fan of those films. I really they should
I'm
just
not
let the
either.
Alien franchise be, but how they actually set up how Michael was already infatuated, how he could be infatuated with xenomorphs because Ash already was. Because he's like, well, what, you act like you admire them. He goes, yeah, well, I admire them for their simplicity and their perfection because they already know what they are and they're perfect the way that they are.
Yeah.
And Michael in Prometheus and in Alien Covenant shares that same real outlook on what the xenomorph is.
It kind of fits because they're both supposed to be maybe not the same generation, but an earlier generation. And when you move forward in time towards Aliens, Bishop actually says to Ripley in that scene, after the dagger scene, he actually says, no, look, I'm a new generation. We're built with much more empathy. And that kind of, if you watch them in order of like a chronological order, that kind of fits. Maybe they retroactively did it, and then it fits, but it just it never sat well with me. It's sort of a callback to people who really are into the xenomorph lore, I would say. But yeah, this the counterpart to his head talking to they're leaving the room and then burning it, basically.
Yep.
All right. So we are going to have another segment before we end up with everything.
Oh, Seth, I completely disagree. I think Starship Troopers is actually a really, really great film if you enjoy it as a piece of military propaganda.
Oh, yeah.
It's hilarious then.
I love it. Sidetracked, love it as a sort of a political pseudo-fascist movie. More than just a straight-up action movie.
Yep,
it is
definitely
much better. All right, so we are going to do this. So in this segment, ladies and gentlemen, we go to flickchart.com. We put up 2 movies from all genres, all times, everywhere, and we do a couple of these, or maybe more than a couple of these, sort of competition, as you will, and saying which movie was better, this one or that one. Our criteria is very, very particular, so I have a different criteria from Kyle. It basically says, what do we like to watch better if we have these 2 options? It comes down to that. So our first couple is The Nightmare Before Christmas or Up. My friend, you have the first say, and I will have the final say.
Okay. Oddly enough, you would think as a goth kid in the late 90s, early 2000s that I would absolutely love A Nightmare Before Christmas, but I hate it with a passion. Up all the way.
When I was 21 years old, I would say I don't think I was 21 at 2005 and 9, but hypothetical 21 years old, I would go
damn, you're
with
younger
the
than me now, man.
Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
25-year-old would go for Up all the way. Next up, Rush Hour, the first one, and Blood Diamond with DiCaprio and the Jaiman, or as my wife loves to call him, Vajiman.
I'm gonna have to say Blood Diamond. I really like that movie.
I would say Rush Hour,
Right.
and I'll tell
this
you
is why. Hey, we have an audience now, so
yeah,
that's our
we have an
call.
audience now, and we can have Saf be on my side and say Rush Hour, and he did.
Yep.
And I'll tell you why. I actively dislike Leonardo DiCaprio. I love him in about the movie, which is Catch Me If You Can.
Yep.
It's not that it's not a good movie, but it is so dark, and I don't want to watch it. It's just I don't want to watch it. Leon versus The Wedding Singer, an actual good fucking Adam Sandler movie.
I think maybe possibly the last good Sandler movie. But maybe I'm gonna have to go with the
Waterbury came out one before this or one after this.
I think it was right. Maybe it was right after it, right before or right after it. Because
I think Waterboy was the last really good Adam Sandler comedy.
Because either went, what was it? Wedding Singer, Waterboy, Little Nicky, or Waterboy, Wedding
Nicky
Singer, Little Nicky.
Terrible.
Oh yeah, Little Nicky was awful.
Was terrible.
And then I think Mr. Deeds came out after that. But anyway, Leon.
Mine is Leon. Yeah, for me, Leon, the professional. The Patriot or Goodwill Hunting. Goodwill Hunting.
I'm gonna go Goodwill Hunting.
The Patriot is a very good movie. It sucks balls though. Heath Ledger dies in that one again.
Mm-hmm.
It's a wonderful.
It's a Wonderful Life.
I'm gonna keep this pair.
It's a Wonderful Life. Obviously, it's a Christmas classic. I watch it every single Christmas.
Okay, so I would pick It's a Wonderful Life. If this was Scary Movie 1, I would go with Scary Movie 1. I'm not even joking. Not even half joking. Not even half joking.
But wait, there's more.
Right. Blast from the Past or The Mask of Zorro.
The Mask of Zorro.
These two are terrible movies.
They're both bad. Zorro. But Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
Gandhi, come on.
Gandhi. I can't stand Jurassic Park. Neither of them. Gandhi was really good, by the way. Live Free or Die Hard. That's the fourth one or the fifth one?
That's the fourth one.
Okay.
That's where they just rebooted the series. Oh, God, they're both awful.
Live Free or Die Hard has the Kevin Smith Warlock scene?
Yes. And Justin Long.
Justin Long is being a total douchebag in this. I mean, it's so ridiculous. And Runaway Bride is just a boring movie.
Yeah. I guess just for popcorn flick, Live Free or Die Hard, because you can turn your brain off and watch it and still be kind of moderately entertained.
Yeah, Runaway Bride was... I watched this with Mrs. Meth 2 years ago. No, a year ago. I just don't get it. It's trying to capitalize on two major stars with a screenplay that doesn't make sense. And that's it, really. And it did moderately well, by the way, but fuck it. Signs or Scream?
Ooh.
M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong or the movie that rebooted the slasher horror film?
I have to go with Scream because it also reinvigorated Wes Craven's career.
I would say Scream as well. I did like Signs, did not like the ending of Signs. I mean, it was.
We're gonna go to a planet that's mostly water, and water hurts us. Yeah, they're very smart aliens.
The movie was so good up to that point. It took you on a ride. It was scary. It had jump scares. It had everything. It was creepy, and it was at the end, and that kind of killed it for me. Scream, in Scream you also had the guy who is the comical relief that literally tells you how it's going to go down, and you're still surprised.
Oh, that was Matthew Lillard's character, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Enchanted or Fright Night?
I am a sucker for the
both
old
terrible
80s horror film, so I'm going with
you
Fright
don't even
Night.
have to say nothing. Enchanted was so bad. So bad. Pineapple Express or Bad Boys? If you're look, it's Friday evening. It's Friday evening.
No, I already know where you're gonna go.
Popcorn is popping.
I love Bad Boys. I love that movie. It's a fun
Bad Boys.
movie. It's a fun movie.
This movie launched the career of Will Smith.
Yeah, it really brought him out from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air into becoming a major motion picture.
And Martin Lawrence was the end of Martin Lawrence's stand-up career. And he did a few movies before that, weren't so successful.
But
then Bad Boys, and it was awesome.
Oh, he was in Black Knight.
It was in Black Knight. He was in Blue Streak.
Blue Streak, yeah. Wow, forgot about that movie.
Yeah, and they were good, but they were not like commercially success. Hellboy, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. If you're on the fence, I can pick first.
Honestly, I have to go with Mr. and Mrs. Smith because I think it's a more fun movie. Because
yes,
I think Hellboy the adaptation from the comics wasn't great, and they did a worse job in the sequel, and then they did an even worse job when they tried to reboot it a couple of years ago.
It's not a terrible movie. It's just it was an okay comic book adaptation. I think if I read the comic book, I would be upset. I know.
Yeah.
If I didn't read the comic book, it was a so.
Yeah.
So Mr. and Mrs. Smith, because it had comedy in it. It had actual comedy in it. So the last of the right, the last pairing.
I have to go with Silence of the Lambs because Hamlet is better as a play.
Yep.
Full stop.
Agree. Even though Mel Gibson was actually pretty good at it.
Yeah.
All right. Ooh. No, don't want to be up top. Okay.
Saf, I forgot about What's the Worst That Could Happen. That actually is a pretty good movie for Martin Lawrence. Yeah, that's a good call there, bud.
All right. Cool. So we burned Ash, and we have a plan. So we're gonna jettison. We're gonna go to the escape shuttle. And we're gonna just go away, and we're gonna detonate the ship because that's the only way we can get rid of this thing. We don't care about the money. We don't care about the orders. Order 937. We don't care. Mm-hmm. We'll save our own lives. And there are shots in this thing while they're preparing. There are shots where there's nobody there. You can hear things clanking and clicking. It's, again, to find the exact spot. So this is where Ripley picks up a few things and everything, but you see a few shots where you can hear the clinking and clanking to give you like an eerie feeling of what's going on. Mm-hmm. But also it's going to Ripley, who's alone, and going to Parker and Lambert together because Lambert can't function. She helps Parker, the engineer, but she's not there, right? She's out of it. And of course, Ripley goes for Jonesy because she can't.
Fucking cat! That fucking cat!
Can't leave the ship. We can't blow Jonesy
up.
up.
Jettison that fucking cat out of goddamn airlock. Fuck him.
You can't. You have to save Jonesy, right? Oh man. Which of course causes a few jump scares, like not real jump scares, but jump scares. Yeah. And I think Ripley activates the self-destruct at this point.
Right? Not yet. It wasn't until after the scene with Lambert, Parker
so
and the xenomorph.
Parker and Lambert kind of they start to gather all the oxygen tanks at this point, so they'll have enough oxygen for the ride, basically at this point, right? And once they've gathered everything, started to move towards the shuttle. That's where all hell breaks loose, and we have this scene where you see Lambert's back of the head, and the xenomorph kind of rises up into the scene, where you can see a little. This time, you can see a little bit more. You can see the tubes, right, and you can see the arm. And all of the head, and of course he opens up his mouth, and it looks like it's smiling. Right? There's a point where, again, it's really hard to grab the exact point, but you can see it smiling towards. Yeah, you can see a full body shot for this.
Yeah, and she's panicking while at the same time Parker's like, do something, run, do something, and then the xenomorph it turns around and kills Parker first.
Yes, it kills Parker first because basically he realized that she is paralyzed. She can't move. So he kills Parker first, and when Parker gets mauled, and that I think when he kills Parker, you can see blood and stuff, but that's like the first blood that you see from a killing.
Yeah, there's a pan out shot with Lambert and Parker's corpses where you see Parker face down like this with blood dripping from him, and Lambert leaned over and she's obviously bleeding, and that's really the only scene where you actually see blood outside of.
You don't see Lambert bleeding at all. Just really? Parker. Yes. Okay. You don't see.
Oh, that's right. No, you're right, because they cut away and she's screaming. You're right.
Right. So Parker tries to save the day, but he gets completely mauled, and Ripley can hear the screams. And this is where I wanted to show you. This is just before Parker gets killed. So you see the smile. It's not really a smile because he opens up his face. It's just it's so creepy. It's so creepy because he opens up his mouth very slowly. Mm-hmm. And the music is very like sort of like psycho-ish, where in the, like, I would say.
Seth, that is completely not true. Halloween came out before this.
Oh, there were plenty of slasher movies.
There were tons of them.
Yeah. And it's not like they were worried about being PG or R. This movie is a hard R. R of 1979 R. Yeah. Back when there was R and M and X.
So yeah, because NC-17 hadn't came out yet.
Yes, this is not mature. This is R, so it's 16 plus. 1979, I think R is 16 plus.
I think that would have had to be right before the MPAA instituted that.
Yeah, no, it's right before that. But this is basically an R-rated movie. It's not PG. Not PG and not PG, not even PG-13. No, there weren't any PG-13 back then.
13. No, there wasn't.
But yeah, this part is super creepy. So he kills Parker, and Ripley's still on her way. And I wanted to show. Yeah, it's really hard. I have to literally play the scene. But yeah, Lambert is not running away. Lambert is screaming. She can see Parker being killed, but she is not running away. And there's a part where the camera is on Ripley the entire time, grabbing Jonesy, grabbing a few things, and she can hear screams. She can hear screams at the background. She like literally shoves fucking Jonesy in the thing, and she literally calls for them, but no answer. All she hears is screams, and all I want to show you is a specific point. Oh yeah, it's very hard to discern because it's very dark. But the tail of
the tail coming up
xenomorph
in between her,
in between her legs, it's a very hentai moment, and you don't see him stab her or nothing. This is as far as it goes. After like half a second after this, we move off, and you hear her screech throughout the ship. But you don't even see the kill, which is supposed to be like that. All right, so we have Ripley activating the self-destruct, and then she starts moving towards the shuttle, and then she comes back for Jonesy again in the case.
Yeah, fucking cat. Just leave it. It's a fucking cat.
A scene before the killing, she stuffed Jonesy in the thing, but then she hears the killing, so she moves away, and then she comes back to the bridge to activate the thing, and then go back and get Jonesy, which is where you're in a hurry.
Well, yeah, you get absent-minded. That's what it is.
Exactly.
But I love how almost condescending Mother's countdown is.
Yeah,
it almost has. It's almost as if the computer has an intonation and it can be condescending, where it's like, just so you know, self-destruct sequence is activated.
And there's like a fail-safe that says, if you are T minus 5 minutes, you cannot stop this.
Yeah,
the countdown is final, so you have 5 minutes, but it is final. You cannot stop this. She actually tries to stop it. I don't remember why. Maybe to have enough time to grab Jonesy, maybe?
I can't remember either.
Exactly. I just don't.
I know she does, because at that point
she literally starts it, and then she goes to the shuttle, and then she remembers about Jonesy, and she thinks she doesn't have any time, so she goes back to the device, and she sees that she can't really stop it, so she rushes to get Jonesy.
Because it was counting down as she got there, and then because that's when she calls out, mother, you bitch."
Yeah, exactly.
Because she couldn't stop it anymore.
Yeah. So she grabs a gun, and she goes out to take care of Jonesy, and she fires the flame all around. But we know that it's not going to help her. Not because she's going to be dead, because the xenomorph is not even there anymore. It's not chasing her. It is. We'll see. Everybody knows anyways, right? So she grabs Jonesy. She goes into the shuttle.
It's in the shuttle, and then everything seems like it's fine. The nightmare's finally over. As she gets away from the Nosdormu, she looks back just to see
it explodes, and then basically a sign of relief.
Okay, she goes, first and foremost, the first thing she does is she takes care of the fucking cat again.
Yeah.
And puts the cat in hypersleep first.
Yeah. But,
And then it's only when you watch it can you get this joke, because it literally looks like the xenomorph's hand pops out, almost saying, "Hey, we made it, high five."
It's hard for me to grab the shot. So we have the lovely Sigourney Weaver.
Yes.
And how many people jacked off just to this picture?
Back in the 70s, quite a few, especially the one where her panties are literally like half down her ass.
Yeah, she's like trying to keep something. I won't show it, but she's like bending down to get something, and her ass is out.
Yeah,
but she's bending down to get something, and she literally the next shot is xenomorph. Let me try and get it. I have to show it. Fuck it. It's not her entire ass, but the xenomorph is right there.
Yep.
And when there's like little flashes from the outside, sort of like lightning, but there's not supposed to be any lightning there, right? There's lightning, so you can tell this part right here is the xenomorph, so we know what's coming, right?
Can you get to that point where you just see the xenomorph's claw pop out? Because that's what I was referring to. Because she can even see the shape of
at this point his claw is gonna go down like this, and she's like like that. I can't really play it, but you can tell. So
yeah,
this part, it's
just so funny because
down there,
just the juxtaposition between the scene, because it literally looks like he's looking out at her like, "Oh, you made it, yeah."
But not really. Let me try and get to the specific point, but yeah, it's this.
Yeah, we made
it. At this point, I was like, why didn't he kill her? Sort of, he wanted to be a stowaway and get to Earth, but how did he know she's going to go to Earth?
Well, at this point, that's where the safe. I think that's just the next safe harbor is. So it doesn't matter where it's going, as long as it's going somewhere that's not going to, not be in existence anymore, because an exorbitant would obviously be vaporized.
But he's not making a conservative effort to kill her at any point, because the xenomorph is not. We know now, because there's a queen sort of hierarchy. It's not a queen, so he can't lay eggs, basically. Or they didn't even think about it at the time, I guess.
I would assume probably I don't know if they have it in the original story that this is based off of, whether or not they had mentioned that the queen needed to exist or not.
Yeah, I think the original story, they say it at the start. I think it's Tales of the Nostromo or something Nostromo, or that's the original. I think it's a short story or something. It's not really elaborate. So she finds out, and then she goes into this quiet mode where she is like, okay, I need to jettison this thing out of this ship right now, or else I'm going to die next. So she goes into a suit. Again, very suggestive. I'm guessing George Lucas also told her to not wear a bra, right?
You mean Ridley Scott?
No, I mean George Lucas. Like he told Princess Leia, like Carrie Fisher, not to wear a bra. Anyways, she goes into this suit, right? So she can breathe, because she needs to open the airlocks. And she keeps a close eye on this thing. It moves a little bit, but not really. So she has her helmet on. She is super focused. She is, like we said, the exact opposite of Lambert. So it's not like she's not afraid. She's very afraid. She's very shaking at this point. You can hear mostly her breathing, It's very, very inducative. That's not the right word. It's very in tune with a person that is afraid. So very shallow, very rapid breathing, and you can hear it. It's very accentuated inside this. There's no music at this point. There's absolutely no music. There's just her breathing. And all she does is she presses one of the buttons that releases air, which makes the xenomorph come out of all the air ducts. And then she sits down at a chair. She straps herself in, and she opens up the airlock. Everything starts to fly out. But the xenomorph kind of grabs the edges. So she fires some sort of a harpoon, and it pushes him out, but not completely out.
Which is funny. That's a scene.
And also, when she closes the door,
yeah,
because she doesn't want to lose. She wants to jettison him, but she doesn't want to lose all the air. When the door closes, the harpoon thing gets stuck in the door, so the xenomorph is actually just on the outside. And when I saw this in this shot, it literally looks like a man in a rubber suit.
Yeah. And that's when they didn't want to show the xenomorph too much, because it looked too fake. So the head looks good, but when it starts to move, you can definitely see it's a man in a rubber suit, which kind of loses all its mistake. So he tries to get into the door. He can't. He gets pushed into the engine, the rocket section, and she presses the rocket boosters in ignition, and he just burns away, and he just dies. But I was gonna say, though, for that scene where they have him clawing, they utilize that in every film going forward.
Every film. Yes, everything. As long as the monster has claws, it will claw its way to something. Something. And that's where it actually ends.
Yeah.
Right? It actually ends. It actually ends where you see Ripley giving sort of a captain's log supplemental. Mm-hmm. So Lambert's dead, Parker's dead, this guy's dead, all of them are dead, and hopefully nobody's going to come back to that. Nobody's going to come back to that planet. Do you remember the name of the planet? Because I don't think they say it in this movie. They say it in the other movie. It's LUV 920, something like that.
I don't believe they actually named the planet in this movie in particular.
Yeah, in Aliens they do. It's it's LVU or LUV 9 something.
Yeah.
But she gives a sort of a brief log, and then I don't think you even see her go into the hibernation. And just the movie just ends. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You don't even see her go into the hibernation. She is very somber. She is practically in tears and very stoic.
Yeah.
And that's how it ends.
That's the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. It's the feel-good movie of the year, 1979.
The year was born, goddammit.
So they had two tragedies that year.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, anything to add?
No, as always, I think we've done pretty good with our picks so far. If you've never seen it, go watch it. It's a great movie.
Yeah. So, one thing, because we don't have the second one, next week, movie that go out and watch is
Groundhog Day
with Bill Murray and Andy McDowell. Or is it Andy McDowell?
Yep.
Or Rudy McDowell?
Andy McDowell.
All right.
You got it.
No, never mind. There was a joke there, but didn't catch me. Never mind. It's from Friends. Never mind. So next week it's going to be Groundhog Day with Bill Murray. We're going to go timey-wimey on this bitch. Ish. And sort of a serious comedy, I would say. How would you categorize Groundhog Day? It's not a drama.
No, it's not a drama. It's a comedy with dramatic elements to it.
A dark comedy? No, not really.
It does have a lot of black humor in it because of the way that things that happen throughout it and all the things that he experiences.
Exactly.
But
don't look at Saf. Saf is trolling again.
Well, but Saf has terrible taste in movies, so it's okay. He picked Rush Hour, so it's all right.
Well, screw you too. Thank you very much for joining me, Kyle. It's been a blast yet again. We'll do this next week, Saturday. Hopefully, I'll have a short version. And not be stuck doing primal farming on World of Warcraft. Anyways,
right, buddy.
Until next week. Bye-bye.
Take care.